Hello, guys. Good day. This is Anne of Reinforce Big Love, your fellow positive reinforcer. Today, we are going to talk about the amazing role of imaginary friend to kids. Now, I thought about bringing this up, the imaginary friend, because, you know, this idea, you know, the way our brain works, it even created an imaginary friend for us. You know, this coping mechanism helped me a lot, especially when I was a child. Even up to this point, I still talk to myself. I created a part of myself or someone like me, my own best friend who is myself, who cheers me up, who helped me get my shit together when I mess up, when I failed, when I encounter painful experiences. This part of myself, whom I still consider an imaginary friend, you know, is the one who pushed me, who talked to me, who helped me soothe myself whenever whenever I my heart breaks or whenever I encounter hurtful experiences. Now, way back when I was a child, though, my aunts were kind of concerned about my thinking or my way before because they told me, I still remember, they told me, why are you talking alone? So that was way back when I was a child, though. I played alone, with my imaginary friends, and I talked to myself before I sleep. I talk to, I have imaginary friends. And by the time when I reach, could be 9 or 10, or, I can't remember what age was that when my imaginary friends just fade away. And the only person that's left is myself. Even today, I talk to myself. I am my own best friend. There is a part of me who just pop up when I feel hurt, when I feel rejected. Those terrible experiences. That part of me pop up and then help me out, help me get my shit together. Now, in my opinion, though, even adults, I believe adults also need imaginary friends. As to me, I am my own best friend. I talk to myself, so it could be I am my own imaginary friends. Well, imaginary friends, though, as to me, whether someone has a mental health problems or not, you know, as long as this so-called imaginary friend helps a person or a child cope up with the stress and you know, the emptiness of this dirty part of reality, I think there's nothing wrong having an imaginary friend. There's someone to talk to. In that way, people, even myself, uh, that would help us cope. As long as the imaginary friend isn't dangerous. It's not, that imaginary friend wouldn't lead a person into self destruction, wouldn't give a threat to others, wouldn't be a danger to others. I'm talking about those bad, I mean, those imaginary friends who are terrible and terribly not good for us. So, yeah, that is extremely not a good idea. Anyway, today I am going to bring up the top 10 roles of imaginary friends to kids. Well, should I even say to adults too? Now, the number one role of imaginary friend for kids is emotional regulation and coping. It's the way of the child to process emotion. Imaginary friends allow children to explore and express emotions safely without getting grounded by parents. When children feel sad, scared, or angry, they often project these feelings into their imaginary friends or companions, helping them process complex emotions. So, this this kind of coping mechanism is called projection, wherein they project their their feelings to their imaginary friends. When they feel sad, they could cry and they could talk to their imaginary friends. When they feel lonely, when they feel upset to their mom, they could talk to their imaginary friends. That is projection. That's a coping mechanism. So that can help reduce anxiety and help children make sense of their inner emotional world. Another thing is that imaginary friend can also help children, and as to me, I think even adults, self soothe. For children dealing with anxiety or stress, an imaginary friend can provide comfort and sense of control. The way we self soothe, we got that from our childhood experiences. That whenever we feel down, there is a part of us who's going to talk to us like it's okay, and then you can soothe yourself. Like you can see it when you're sad, lonely, or stressed out. You can see it in your body language. And you can just secretly talk to yourself that it's okay, it's fine, you can still do it the next time. It's in your head. You can't, as adults, we can't really talk to ourselves in the public. We just try to keep it with ourselves. But still, we do talk to ourselves. And we treat ourselves like our friend. As to me, I am my own best friend. Real friend. The kind of way, the way when you have a real friend that you do anything for that friend. So that is me, my best friend. And yeah, I even got this since childhood. And for children, they can talk to their imaginary friends about their worries, which helps relieve tension. And the same thing right now that I even talk to myself, especially when I take exams or when I am in a competition or job interview. Like, no, you can do it. You can do it. Don't be tense. You can do this. You can do this. You can get this job. So that is my own best friend. I am my own best friend. The way I talk to my best friend. Don't think about failing again. That's another way to talk to your best friend. As I've said, I am my own best friend. And that is also a coping mechanism. Projection by means of, uh, imaginary friend, or like talking to yourself. You're not talking to anybody else, just yourself, to keep yourself up. Now, the second role of imaginary friend is, it helps kid in the area of social skills development, practicing social interaction, like role playing. Through conversations and role playing with imaginary friends, children practice language skills, social norms, and behaviors like taking turns, sharing, managing conflicts. This is important for developing social competence. As you can observe children, especially when they're alone, they try to interact with their imaginary friend, or it could be their doll. Like, please behave, don't talk to me like that. The way they talk to their dolls or their toys, that those are their imaginary friends too. And that is also the way for them to practice social interactions before they get to practice it. They do it in the real world, real peers. And it's also a way for children to understand others. You know, by role playing with imaginary friends, children learn empathy and theory of mind, which is the ability to understand others. Their thoughts, feelings, and perspectives different from their own. You know, everything that they thought about others, you know, like, in role playing, they practice it, initially to their imaginary friends with their toys. Another role of imaginary friend is it helps kids fostering creativity and imagination. Imaginary friends are often a manifestation of child's creative imagination. That, before, I want to be a biologist, I want to be a scientist. But my dad was, you know, buying me airplanes, cars, which is, supposed to be dolls though. But what I did to those planes, cars, and remote control cars, I just open it up, like dissect it. When the battery isn't working anymore, I dissect it. I feel like I'm a mechanic. I'm supposed to be a biologist because I I've seen a Discovery Channel. I've seen those biologists, interacting, hanging out with animals. But I got remote control cars. I got airplanes. Oh gosh, Dad. So I just dissect it as what I've seen in the Discovery Channel. So it's a kind of complex that I have my own story in my head as a child, and it's also a way for children to do practice problem solving. Engaging with imaginary friends often involves creating problems and solving them. So this actually boosts cognitive flexibility and inventive thinking. Like for example, they some kids they like to play along with the dolls, and oh, the gown of my dolls isn't that it doesn't look amazing anymore. Maybe I could make another gown for my doll. But as to me, before I didn't have a doll, so I just keep dissecting the the remote control cars that my dad gave me, even the airplanes. Dissecting means destroying destroying them. So yeah, it's all destroyed and gone. And I've also seen my classmates playing with the paper dolls, and I also figured out how to make a paper doll and how to create a dress for paper dolls. So that is creativity. You try to relate kids try to relate to the world by the help of their imaginary friends. They try to do that by means of their imagination, and they can play with their imaginary friends. They can even talk to their imaginary friends while they're making a new dress for the dolls. Now, the fourth role of imaginary friend is coping with loneliness and change. Imaginary friends can provide companionship when children feel lonely and have limited opportunities for social interaction. So, yes, I am an only child, so it's normal to me before to talk to my toys, to have imaginary friends, and I wouldn't deny that. Even today, I still talk to myself and I am my own best friend, which started from that imaginary friends journey when I was a child. So, it's imaginary friends are helpful in times of, transitions, like moving to a new place, starting school, or when family face changes, like, you know it could be as it could be a terrible parental separation or new sibling. Those are changes, and the only way for a child to cope up with that is to verbalize it to their imaginary friends with their toys. And even when they start school, when they stressed out from school, they try to play and they verbalize, they pour out their feelings through their toys. They talk to their toys, to their imaginary friends, or to their toys. Coping with difficult situations. If a child is experiencing something challenging like illness, family conflict, or bullying, an imaginary friend may offer a way for the child to work through these problems indirectly by having a friend experience them. So, in other words, imaginary friends have loads of uses. Number five, one of the best role of an imaginary friend is to help a child gain a sense of control and autonomy, mastery and control. The way imaginary friends give children a sense of control over their environment through role playing, as you can see, those kids who wants to be like their teacher. So they have imaginary friends who are their students, and they teach their students through their imaginary friends. So it sounds funny, but yeah, that is a way for kids to develop a sense of control in themselves. Even, they can practice leadership, decision making, problem solving in that little world in their head, in which they can control through role playing. They can imagine that they hang out with their favorite Hollywood actress through their imaginary friends. And developing this sense of control through imaginary friends for kids, that will also help them build confidence. Children build confidence and independence as they take on different roles, like a teacher. They want to be like their teacher. So they create a role play with their imaginary friends wherein they are the teacher. They are the disciplinarian teacher. They care a lot for the students. So, you know, if they still think about being a teacher, maybe in the near future they will eventually become a teacher in their adulthood. Or if they think that they're a doctor and they have a patients, they can talk to their patients, like their patients can be their toys or their imaginary friends. And eventually, as they grow older, they might, pursue that career. And without imaginary friends who can help them independently think about that role, you know, that wouldn't be possible. Imaginary friends help up those kids become engineers, doctor, pilots through role playing with their imaginary friends. Now, number 6 is imaginary friends for kids can also help explore morality and ethics. These imaginary friends allow children to explore the ethical, the values in a safe space. They can create scenarios where they experiment with fairness, honesty, justice, real friendship, kindness, helping them develop a sense of what is right and wrong through their imaginary friends in a way of role play. And in that way, since they have already a clue about what is right and wrong for them and how they relate to the world, they can eventually they can able to understand the consequences by controlling their imaginary friends' actions. No, don't be rude. They can talk to their toys like that. Don't do that to her. They're imaginary friends. Children learn about the cause and effect and can test out behaviors without real life repercussions. Now, another role, number 7. One of an interesting role of imaginary friends is expressing inner desires or fear for children. Projection of inner world. Imaginary friends often reflect a child's inner desires, aspirations, or fears. Like, for instance, a child who feels powerless might create a strong, authoritative imaginary friend, while a child who is shy might invent a confident companion. This provides insights into child's inner world and allow them to express things they might not feel comfortable saying otherwise. Now, as I've said before, I've gone through a lot in my childhood years. So, having this topic, it made me feel interested. Having an imaginary friend who's gonna help me out when I mess up. That imaginary friend is still me, my best friend. She just pop up when I need help. It means that when I'm stressed out, when I'm anxious, when I'm hurt, when I'm heartbroken, when I'm broke, that imaginary friend will just pop up and help me get my shit together and solve the problem. That is still me. That my imaginary friend is still me. It's a part of me whom I created. The reflection of my inner desires. That imaginary friend, my own best friend, is kind of person who's better than me, smarter than me, much powerful than me. So yeah, I created that just like everybody else. Athletes, people who wants to be better, who, those are the people who talk to themselves. And I'm one of them. So, yeah. Yeah, you already have a clue about imaginary friends now, and even to my own imaginary friends. So far I've no imaginary friends who have the will to destroy the world. Not yet. I mean, no, I wouldn't. Now, number 8 is imaginary friends can help kids implement rules by means of role playing. So, when kids do role playing, they can implement the rules and boundaries. When a child engages with imaginary friend, they often create rules and boundaries for the friend. This helps them understand social norms and self-regulation by controlling the behavior of their counterpart, their imaginary friend. Now, another thing, imaginary friend helps a child prepare for future relationships. It's some kind of a rehearsing experience, rehearsal roles for kids. Imaginary friends help children rehearse for their future roles like a teacher, a doctor, a caregiver, a nurse. I have to be honest, I haven't thought about being a nurse when I was a child. I want to be a doctor, a biologist, a teacher. I actually have no idea what I want. And here comes my dad, who wants me to be a nurse. So, this is a nation culture now. So, yeah, it was kind of funny, but I actually love my job this time. This time around that I work with the finest, one of the best institution in Europe. So, I love my job this time. So, yeah, imaginary friends help kids come up with an idea with, the kind of person they want to be in the future. You could be a doctor, a policeman, a soldier. They already have a clue about what they want through, by the help of their imaginary friends. They may practice nurturing or mentoring their imaginary friends, which help them prepare for real life relationships with siblings, peers, and even pets. Now, lastly, imaginary friends help kids facilitate language development. Some kids even have their own jargon with their imaginary friends. Kids with imaginary friends often engage in elaborate conversations, which can boost their vocabulary, narrative skills, and overall language development. Now, all in all, imaginary friends offer children a reach of multi-dimensional experiences that helps them process emotions, practice social skills, explore creativity, and build cognitive and language abilities. These companions provide a safe space for children to navigate the real world challenges and develop important life skills. And we can even bring this imaginary friend through a lifetime because this is the way for our brain to cope up with the stress in life. Have you seen that movie Castaway, wherein he got an imaginary friend who is a ball? So we have, as an individual with a gifted with a mind, a strange and powerful mind, we can, there's nothing in this world that we cannot able to conquer unless we choose not to. Our minds can help us. We already have we already got the guts to get what we really want in life, no matter how big or impossible you think it is. Our minds can help us get to it if we want to, if we don't make excuses, if we don't create excuses. So it's still up to us. It's all up to our choices. Now, that's how important is imaginary friends. It can help us get through life, rain or shine. So if you ever love this episode today, imaginary friendly thing, you can follow me in YouTube, Facebook, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, even in Amazon Podcasts, Reinforce Me Club. I do appreciate your time and have a lovely day ahead. This is Anne, by the way. Thank you very much.